what it means to be the dream walker, because that's the machine that, you know, we're working to take over, you know, to Frankenstein with, you know, Elektra into that part of the matrix, like, what are we calling it, the fake simulation? You know, that's where we make it happen first. So I'm feeling and imagining, and like you're saying, the scientist, and my skill is in emotion, and that's how I do my work, is infusing with feeling. So, and the fact that I purposefully, when I'm lucid, find another human being in the public dream time space and, you know, walk up to somebody and kind of interrupt their dream and bring them into mind and say, hi, remember me, this is real. Like, I'm a human being and I'm sleeping and so are you. Did you know that? And, you know, having a full conversation with them. And it's just taken many months for me to admit it, and it feels really empowering, powerful to say, I am a dream walker, and I wake people up in their dreams. I like it.
I was extremely impressed in the imagery you presented in those very short phrases of what you've just elongated upon, and in the 100% agreement. And I can elaborate on it more, or I'm just letting you, if we want to move on to or another topic and then say how this integrates into that.
That's good too.
So it's up to, I mean, because more than anything, because of the time frame that we have, as well as the breakup in the signal a little bit with the communication.
Okay.
You know, immediately you took what we were doing. So when we realized that we were in what we're calling a simulator with a Z, because the simulation is the same thing as the matrix, and we moved beyond that into what we thought was the real fifth dimensional connection to self. Agree?
Yeah.
So this is all in the build up to 2012, and in 2012, when we end time, and during the process of handing over the reign from the masculine to the feminine, in that time frame, we realized and knew all along, because each one of us in the quartet that we formed to be the post-2012 framework to keep reality in existence, you know, pay the meter so that we don't lose, you know, end up the way the Z Martians did in reverse. But where I'm going with that is because we're invested in three different phases of reality at the same time. History, which is up to 2012. Then we have this 2012 to 2016 period. And then we have post 2016 to 2024. And I got a little bit more solid on that talking with Egan last night, and I put that up. And happy All Saints Day. As we know, last evening was All Souls Day. And it was the point of getting Egan here as the other one representing the fourth dimension in the dead and saying, listen, you know, I'm calling you out on the carpet at the moment as far as what does it take to give you purpose and happiness, because we know there are only two flows, love and fear. And this is getting back to what you're saying about your emotion and how you work and your attachment. And that's because you are the flow of love whose resultant is joy / happiness, right? And we know that I'm the fear flow, which ends in despair. slash unknown, and that's why we project the divine masculine face out into the void, so that when we find another star or galaxy or universe, well, we'll stick with just star because we're folding space. That's our astronomic intragalactic form of travel. That is the wormhole, where we have the ability to visit other stars within the galaxy. And why that's important is because we use in the search in a direction to try to find other life. And the biggest thing is tuning in to another star in its now, where there is life, so that when we fold the space and get there, we arrive at the right time. And I know you know all of that, but this is getting into the flow, and within the light in the electromagnetic field created by a star, that inner body is divine feminine, because we want the nature and nurture of that to be all positive, and that emotional flow of love to bring the joy, so that existence in and of itself is enough. You don't need these other intangibles that you act out upon in what we would call the Nebuchadnezzar form of energy, right? The generation. So anyway, getting back on point, because I know we're limited, and what I was trying to get at with explaining and expressing to Egan, because what the way that you phrased what you said, it is exactly so. 2012 is the simulation, the matrix. We've mastered Pope and President individually, so we could be either or, all of us in the quartet, as well as we are forming a framework agreed upon in the third equation from Christ to God or Allah, that there is a trinity within the quartet, and then a binary duality within the quartet, the actual theatrical mathematics equation, right? And then within that, there is the singularity, that only one of the four is actually the in tote apex once it's accomplished. So that framework was 2012 to 2016, where we give all of the rest of the 7+ billion individuals on the planet the opportunity to show their math, and that they have also reached from Christ to Allah, right, in a proper framework that puts them on equal footing with us. So now there's a gang of us, an army of us, in total. But that period of time that we just let go by, if anything, just left you and I stranded, with those that we know wanting to be a part of us only because they know that we survived. So if we acknowledge their existence, that means they made it. And this fits right into your wake-up scenario, even though I'm talking about hangers-on and you're talking about general public. And that's why we're twin, two faces, looking out, but also side by side. Side by side, it's covering all aspects. So I worry about those who are trying to hang on because they know we made it, and allow you to go with the flow. Go with the flow to the general public and wake anybody, like you're discussing, because it's an emotional feeling in the moment, right?
Yeah.
So before handing it back to you, the post-2016 until 2025, that stretch is where we are willing to just acknowledge where we're at right now and just move forward to the future. That is 28,025 or 20,012 to 28,025. And that's the fine balance that we're in, because when I was last expressing to you about how those most in the majority of the collective are still stuck between president and pope and need that emotional scenario, that healing process, and being to bring it back to the wake up and sticking with the simulation, the simulator, and then Mars Future 28,017. So we knew the simulation was fake, right? So then we think we're actually connected to our higher selves in the fifth dimension, right?
Yeah.
Then we have the show in Chicago, and then we have the meeting and the show in Connecticut at Fox Tower during the Republican National Convention, where Steve drops the bomb of we're all really in 28,016 Mars. And this is what's been going on, and why we're all within this sleep time dream walk phase, right? That the Martians of that time, having mastered the mathematics and the ability to travel throughout, and then also enhance their lifespan, right? They ran out of places to exist before they died or transitioned. So that's why the first story of simulation pre-2012 is needing to wake up, but as a unified collective species, the whole beehive, or the Star Trek cube one, you know, I can't believe I always fart like this on stuff like this. Our shit's so much better. But anyway, the point being is you and I and Steve and Paul post 2012 thinking we're out of the simulation and in just this flow, and we're the only ones holding existence together, you know, each taking our turn until we can transition through herstory, transition the energy, properly align with the future, and make more room so that we can wake up the rest of human beings that are asleep in what I call and you call the simulator, living in a simulation. Because even those in the analog, digital, and semi-cyber world pre-2012 thought that they were in contact with higher self, other intelligent species, or the zeitgeist of the flow of God through the grace of Trinity, you know? So
yeah,
they already thought they were woken up, is what I'm getting at, and we gave them the respect and courtesy of acknowledging that, and then we were just trying to hash out plot levels of how do we save the most people and make it only those that won't concur with correct behavior that are eliminated, not because there's no room for what they believe. Right? Oh, did I lose you?
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. So are you agreed so far?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything you want to add, or you want me to just keep rolling?
Are you recording right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I am sitting right now. The place that my appointment took was my old neighborhood, and I'm sitting right now in front of the house that I had some of my major reality epiphanies. It was, you know, the house before the one I'm in right now, the one that I've had the dream about blueberry sherry in. And
well,
so
do you feel like recalling that dream real quick?
Sure. So in 2006, I had a dream, and it was lucid. I was completely awake and aware the whole time. I knew I was someone else. I thought it was a great vineyard rather. But the earlier part of the dream was somebody basically slapping me awake. Okay, I was laying down on a bed, and somebody, like, you know, pinched my cheeks and then sat me up and slapped my face and said, "Wake up!" and then I was like awake, and then instantly I was in this vineyard. So I was in the vineyard, and I was laying down, and I look up, and I'm seeing the ground upside down because I'm laying down with my back against the dirt. And so the vineyard is upside down, and I pull my head up, and I look down, and I have this massive gashing wound, and I didn't know what did it, but I knew that it was a blade. At the time, I felt like it was, I didn't know what kind of blade. I just wrote down, cold steel blade, bleeding to death. And I knew instantly that I was a sacrifice. And so it was a very clear dream, and I wasn't afraid. I felt very cold and sad because I was sad about the people that I was leaving. So, and then the dream started to fade because I had that deep, emotion of like pain and sadness, and I started waking up. And as I'm waking up, I heard a voice say to me, the connections are being made, the channel is clearing, you need to continue to keep this open, keep the channels open. And as I woke up, it was kind of like, I just died as I was like waking up and opening my eyes, and then that was it. So that was 2006. Then, and this was the old house that I lived in, and I always do an energetic bubble of protection around my home, around my car, around my body, around, my loved ones. And so it's something, it's like one of those, I call it the plate spinning bells, that once you spin it once, you just have to continue to re-energize it and, polish it up and remove any dark energies that have got stuck and, just continue to replenish it. So when I left this house that I'm sitting in front of right now and moved to my other house, the one that I'm in right now, I took my time because I had lived in this home for 5 years. So I decided to give myself 1 full year. Every full moon, I was going to continue to move, whatever energetic bits were left at the old house to the new house. So I started to build that, and 6 months in to living here, my daughter told me the story about a woman who died on her farm in a tractor-trailer accident. And as she's telling me this, that whole dream is like flashing in my eyes. So that was 2000.
I was going to ask when that transfer was complete from old house to new house.
I took 12 full moons to, continue to draw and pull it from one space to the next, because I had been there so long. I wanted to just be patient and take my time. That's something that I've realized I'm very good at.
Yes.
I have problem planting a seed and getting busy with other stuff and tending and caring, but just letting things manifest and produce when they're ready.
And that's exactly how the math of Now Forward works, and that's why it's so natural to you, and that's why it's difficult to separate you from like what we're up to help the others, removing you from, I know you know what I'm trying to say, that you are the one-in-one that it always works for, because we wouldn't be able to get to where we're going and need to be if you weren't the one-in-one. So so anyway, continuing on, when my question would be, did you move into the new house?
I moved into the new house in 2011.
Okay. So then by 2012, so by the end of time in 2012, you had completed your transfer, would you say, safely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes absolute sense. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. So actually, 2016, on October 31st, which is when the veil between the 3D and the Grateful Dead,
yes,
La Dia de la Muerte,
that's right, That's why
Yeah.
I did the ritual ceremony with Egan for 3 hours of recorded video last night.
Perfect. So let's see. I'm moving a little bit because
Yes,
I've got somebody.
no worries, no worries.
No, so on that night, I summoned her because, she had,
Well, you have
she
the flash, so it was almost like she was making a phone call.
pretty much, yeah. And exactly, that is what was happening. So I summoned her. I found out about her death, later in the year. And then when we communicated, she showed me the visual of me moving my white light shield from the old house, which is where I'm sitting right now, to the new house. And she was in process of joining the Grateful Dead and going to the Great White Light.
Right.
And as she was approaching, she turned around to say goodbye to her loved ones, which is the feeling that I connected to in her body.
So I want to stop you right there before you go any further, because I have this actually, I'm glad it's recorded with Egan last night, that, like, we're in the period, because we're the generals, like, I'll give you the more detailed version after you finish, but the point is, we're making the condolence calls to the family left behind by someone who has lost their life within this war that we're having right now. So we're making two different types of communication in that scenario, but the point that I was making with Egan last night is the responsibility of whether the individuals that I was trying to convey the point that because so many people don't have purpose, they're willing to just die for nothing, but it's the people that they leave behind that need the consolation, even though they may think there's no one left behind for them to recognize. And that's the thing, that making sure that there is always a recognition when there is death, so that before dying occurs, the individual makes sure that that's what they want to do, because it's not about them. It's about the ones that are going to be left behind. But you're going right into that vein with what you just said, so that's why I want to make it a point to say that's the thing I wanted to talk to you about when I said that the Z-Martians are posing as aliens. And in this war that we're in, because now we have the clarification, there's only notification going on right now by you and I as the generals of I'm sorry for the loss of your ex, to whoever they left behind to be notified. And but I'll get back. So when she was turning to say goodbye to her loved ones before going into the Great White Light, and
and she saw the two bubbles of protection and the tunnel between them, which is the visual that I created to do my magic the way that I do it, which is I weave it emotion and then energize it.
Well, that's the model. That's the model, unbeknownst to me until this moment, because I was going to say you were actually making a safe haven for her to go to. If there was a stall point between the light and her life, but the way that you do that, remember I say the fourth dimension is just a bunch of lattice works as a transference mechanism from 3 to 5D. Yes, you and I wrecked all that, but the reason being is because your model of a transference of energy, the lattice work that it builds, the wormhole that it opens up between the two locations, and the fact that the process is completely safe and the locations themselves are protected. It's the perfect transfer mechanism. And that's what I took from you and built the machine exactly like that.
Yeah.
So going back,
she looked down to her body and realized that there was no saving it. She made that decision.
Of course, with that kind of gas.
Yeah. So she traveled back she started on this end because the place that she died at and the place at my new house is like half a mile max.
Jeez.
So she was instantly in my bubble the second that she became curious. Because, you know, the rule for this protection bubble is anything that is good and of value and is blessed and you know, for life may enter.
So
anything that is of death may not. So instantly she was in that bubble,
right.
Traveled back through the tunnel to 2006 and said, I'm waiting for you, when she gave me the flash of her death.
So now I need to stop you again. Now exponentiate that in taking what I just said about I enlarge the mechanism of creation of universe / supergiant galaxy / giant galaxy / galaxy / solar system / species environment, and now you can see why Neb was able to come in on an exponential level for the same reason that Blueberry Sherry showed to you what you created and how it could be used, and because of how you set it up. If you would exponentiate that to be a connection between the 5D and the 3D, you can see why Ned popped in.
Yeah.
Continuing on.
Yeah.
I just think like that's mind blowing that your little hocus pocus model has blown up to be the transportation system, which I already knew and you already knew, but the fact that you just expressed on a microcosmic level another entity explaining to you how your spell and the way you did it was the ability to make that the strongest, most blessed way of grace transference, and then that
every time that I do magic, when I call the corners, I call the highest form of divine creation and make a tiny little bubble.
right. But this is the one-in-one differentiation. Anybody who dabbles in from black to gray to white does the same thing, but without solid process and content, you wind up getting the jinn who, when you make your wishes, they wind up backfiring on you scenario. Right?
Yeah, and they tried to do that with me too.
You're right, but because you're the one-in-one, that's why you're it's just more stellar proof of what, you know, of your resume, your curriculum vitae. But it's just amazing that you trapped Ned that way. So, all right, so the girl.
I'm sitting in front of the house right now that I'm supposed to go to, but.
Oh, go! I'll wait. Hey, hang up or do whatever.
No, I'll talk about.
All right. Good luck.
I wanted to talk about Utopia and the place that I went to the mountain because I went there in 2013, and this round I came back and I had the other side of the conversation with myself.
Right. I want to go back to where we left off and then bring forward in current, so I'll let you begin there because that's where we last left our communication and our magic.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait to hear from you. I'm going to stop this one and we'll start again.
Okay.
Okay, bye.